What's up everyone, Weather Cup is starting later today, so let's take a look at some top teams for this cup to get you some wins. Already made a meta breakdown video on this cup, so if you want to check that out, I'll put a link to that in the description. But for now, let's get into the teams. First off, it's important to mention that the Weather Cup will be held in the Ultra League and that it's an extremely Excel heavy meta. I will do my best to suggest at least a couple teams without any Excel or with very little Excel, or at the very least suggest you some alternatives to a couple of Excel Pokemon. But in general, a couple of these Excel mons are just the best there is in the meta, and there's no going around that. Luckily, there's definitely some good teams possible with just one Excel, like this one right here. Abomasnow, Swampert Core. Or basically, Abomasnow with any water form a pretty solid duo. Abomasnow, very good anti-water, because of the grass typing of course, and then it can also deal very well with Cordilli and Ludicolo, the two main other grasses in this meta, who the waters really struggle with. Abomasnow you can really run with two movesets. Oh, first off, preferably Shadow, by the way. I think Shadow is just a little better on Abomasnow, but regular can definitely work too. You can run with two movesets, with Razor Leaf to just completely obliterate other water types, or Powder Snow, so you're a lot better versus other grasses such as Cordilli or the Mirror. That's why I do think Powder Snow is the way to go in this squad. Otherwise, if you're in Razor Leaf, you're gonna get ran over by an opposing Powder Snow Abomasnow. So Powder Snow Abomasnow plus Swampert is your main core here, but you could also go with another water instead of Swampert. It would also work quite great. The reason I like Swampert here instead of something like Tapu Fini, a Blastoise, is because Tentacruel becomes an issue then. And Swampert, because it's also ground type, deals with Tentacruel quite nicely. In the middle of these two, you're gonna want a good pivot. Both Abomasnow and Swampert, I wouldn't really recommend this pivot. Two good pivots in this meta are Samurott with the Fury Cutter, Mega Horn combination as play against some of its counters, like Cordilli, Abomasnow, don't really want to take a Mega Horn, or Regice, which is also a really good pivot in this meta. I am not sure what moveset you want to run on Regice, to be honest. It has three good moves: Thunder, Earthquake, Blizzard. I think in this team, if you're running it as a pivot with Swampert lead, you're gonna want to run Thunder at least for when a potential water type searches in, thinking they counter Regice. And then either Blizzard for potential Cordilli, or Earthquake if you expect Blaziken to come switching in, which is definitely possible. I would assume that when you start safe switching Regice, no one would bring in Cordilli, since they should fear a Blizzard, which is why I think you might not need the Blizzard on it. So I would start going with Earthquake Thunder, but if you notice people switching in their Cordillis versus your Regice, maybe consider switching Earthquake into Blizzard. Both of these teams are quite balanced, but there's definitely some Pokemon that could core break it somewhat, especially opposing Abomasnow. Even if you're running the Powder Snow variant, that's really your only counter to opposing Powder Snow Abomasnows, which is why you should maybe also consider running Sludge on Swampert just to give you a little more play there. But in general, even if you run Earthquake, you should be fine there as long as you save your own Abomasnow for a potential opposing Abomasnow. And then Samurott could be a bit of a pain as well, since Abomasnow is not really a great answer there. If you fail a bait, the Samurott can actually outpace you to multiple Mega Horns and knock you out. So yes, watch out for that. Next team is built around Ludicolo, my absolute favorite Pokemon. I was ecstatic when I saw the Weather Cup at first, since I thought Ludicolo is going to be the king of the meta. Finally, the Pineapple's time to shine. But the more I looked into it, the more I kind of realized it is going to be tough to build like a really solid team around Ludicolo. Definitely going to be very good, but it has some pretty big weaknesses that are kind of hard to cover for. For example, it loses to Abomasnow, Blaziken, Sandslash, and Tentacruel, no matter what moveset you run, and they're all kind of hard losses too, and all four of these Pokemon are very hard to cover for, or basically impossible to cover for, with just a single or even two Pokemon. This is the best I could come up with. Alolan Sandslash covers very well for Abomasnow, Tentacruel, and it also can win in the mirror, of course. Blaziken, of course, is an issue, which is why in this squad I do kind of recommend Bubble Ludicolo, just to be a little bit better versus Blaziken. On the other hand, though, maybe Razor Leaf is better versus the meta. I kind of refuse to run Razor Leaf. I don't really want to run Razor Leaf Ludicolo. I don't think Razor Leaf should be allowed on Ludicolo. So I'm gonna try to make Bubble work. but maybe I'm just too stubborn and I should just run Razor Leaf because it's probably better, but I don't care. Burning Bubble, and then another water type in the back to cover for the Blaziken. Tapu Fini, for example, is very good because it covers for the Alolan Sand. Actually, all of these cover for Alolan Sandslash except for Tentacruel, so that's nice. Tapu Fini is also kind of nice, since if Ludicolo lures out the Abomasnow, then Tapu Fini can likely sweep a line, but that's honestly the case with all of these. You can basically go any water type, and I think it will be fine. Honestly, that's the case in most of these in this meta. Just run an anti-grass, then 2 waters in the back, and it's probably a good team. There's definitely some core breakers though. We already talked about Blaziken, it can be a bit of an issue. On the other hand though, it's quite squishy, so a team worker should be able to deal with it. Regice on the other hand is not that squishy, but it also doesn't have any fast move pressure, so you should be able to play around it as well. But watch out for those charge moves. An Earthquake will do a ton of damage versus Sandslash, and a Thunder or Blizzard will do a ton versus everything else. But you should be able to play around it. I think definitely a strong squad. Here's a full non-XL line under the motto that if you don't have XL Pokemon, just abuse Community Day moves. So we're running Blaziken, Swampert, and Walrein. All 3 of these have a lot of play for some of the main meta threats. It works kind of like an ABB team. We got a hard answer to the grass types in the lead in Blaziken. If you don't spot a grass type, switch into your Walrein. Lure it out. Walrein does have a lot of play there, even though you'll likely lose. That's fine. You either bring him low or take a shield, and then you can farm them down with Blaziken, get rid of them, and once they're gone, Swampert should have a ton of play in the back. There are some swaps you can make around here. I think Blaziken is quite vital though. It's really one of the only good grass answer in this meta that's not XL. Like, you could go with like a Alolan Sandslash as well, but that's XL. Will be an option though if you do have that, or Powder Snow, Abomasnow, but then it's basically the same as the previous team. So, useless. But anyway, then Swampert and Walrein, you could switch around with basically any water type Pokemon like Gyarados, Lapras, Kingdra, Milotic, Empoleon even, and some more. Make sure you have at least like one very neutral water type in there, like Samurott, like a Kingdra, like a Gyarados, that you could use as a pivot. That's important, because otherwise you're just gonna get hard walled, which is of course not ideal. Now this squad does definitely have some core breakers, especially Jellicent could be a big pain, but I was hoping it won't be that common. Politoed could be a bit of an issue too, but I think all your water should have play at least, so you can definitely play around that. Same at Samurott. Samurott is gonna be annoying for this since it's so spammy, but it's also quite squishy, so a team worker should be able to work around it. Overall, I don't expect this is gonna be a 30 win streak team. You're gonna have to leave those kind of win streaks up to the XL Pokemon, but I definitely think this is a consistent team you should be able to climb. Another core I quite like is Tapu Fini Credilli. Credilli gets absolutely walled by Pokemon like Alolan Sandslash and Blaziken, which Tapu Fini just destroys. And Credilli does very well against Pokemon like Lantern or Jellicent, which Tapu Fini doesn't want to see. Of course, there's still opposing grass types, which this core can kind of struggle with, especially like Powder Snow or Abomasnow, but both these Pokemon have quite a lot of play versus Powder Snow, Abomasnow. And if it's Razor Leaf, Abomasnow, Tapu Fini is gonna get absolutely destroyed, of course. But then Credilli does a bit better. And versus any form of Ludicolo, Credilli does quite fine as well. Still not the best though, so as a third, you're gonna want to run a Pokemon that does fine against them. Like Alolan Sandslash, like Blaziken. In this team, I would kind of recommend you lead with your Tapu Fini and use Credilli as a pivot. I feel like out of these 3 in both teams, Credilli is going to be your best pivot, as both Tapu Fini, Alolan Sandslash, and Blaziken can get quite hard walled by common picks, and Credilli basically always has play. Even if a Blaziken or Alolan Sandslash would come in, you can do quite a lot of damage there with some Stone Edges, and then afterwards farm down with your Fini, and Fini with energy is quite dangerous. Already went over Abomasnow as a core breaker earlier, but another issue could be Tentacruel, especially for the Blaziken variant, because both Fini and Blaziken do lose to Tentacruel, so it's not great, but luckily I don't expect it to be that common. If it is, maybe don't run a Tapu Fini basic variant. Then the Sandslash variant would be better, as Sandslash is a pretty good answer to, or actually very good answer to Tentacruel. Cordilli does quite fine there too, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Anyway, that was it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you're gonna run in this cup in the comments down below. And if you want to see a meta breakdown of this cup, watch this video. See you in the next one, everyone. Later.